Now we are live. We'll wait for a few seconds for people to join in. LinkedIn is a bit slow in terms of sending notifications. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll start in a few seconds. Amazing. Now I think the notification is gone. So, welcome everyone to LinkedIn Pe Charcha episode 25. And this time I have with me a very special guest in the form of Ms. Devashree Shukla. She is an experienced LinkedIn ghostwriter. She is an experienced freelance content writer. She has been creating active content on the platform. And she has experienced that virality of posts as well, which we are going to talk about. So, welcome to the session, Devashree.
Thank you so much, Rahul. It's great to be here. And thanks for that introduction.
Amazing. We have 27, 28 people with us. So, people who are seeing this, first of all, on LinkedIn, we will not be able to see your name. So, you can feel free to drop in a hi or, something like that. We would love to greet you. And if any questions about personal branding, LinkedIn, uh, content writing, feel free to ask in the comment section. And I'll definitely try my best to take it up with Devashri. Perfect. So my first question to you, Devashri, is how did LinkedIn happen? I mean, what did you think that okay, let's start creating content on LinkedIn and take us back to that first day of creating content on LinkedIn?
Okay. So it wasn't something that I had planned. And so I was doing this internship. It was a digital marketing internship during the pandemic. And
Hmm.
I think very naturally I learned about LinkedIn through it, even though I was on the platform, but I had no idea that okay, people also write on the platform. So I think just one day when my internship ended and I logged into LinkedIn and I just decided, okay, let's just write something. So I
Hmm.
just wrote continuously for a few days, right? And then this one, after writing for a few months, there were a few people who started engaging with my post. Then I wrote this one post where I introduced myself. So I just talked about my journey of transitioning from as a flight attendant to now into digital marketing. And I think that received a lot of engagement. That is what
Yes.
led me to create more content. So that was the journey. Like it wasn't planned at all. And I did not even have an idea that, people use this platform to write things or just talk about their journey.
Right, absolutely. That's great. And I still remember that post of yours. I think it went, I mean, it was viral all
Yeah.
across LinkedIn. It received so
Yes.
many likes. And that journey, the way you articulated it, it really, I mean, I'm sure it related with a lot of people who are transitioning and who are planning to follow their dreams. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've read your recent article on LinkedIn as well. You have talked about that you talked about this transition from being a flight attendant for 2 years, and then after that you came into marketing. Did it happen
Mhm.
in the flow, or was it something you realized that how did you realize that marketing is the thing for you, marketing is the thing you want to get into?
Again, I think when I left my job as a flight attendant, I had no idea or no plan. All that I
Hmm.
knew at that time was that I just want to leave this job. I did not want to fly for the next 5 or 10 or even 2 more months. And
Right.
I was just happy to leave the job. Then, so my brother was into digital marketing, but then again,
Hmm.
he didn't influence me as much. Like it wasn't his, he did not convince me, okay, you should try this. It's just something that I thought, okay, let's try it out, because I remember when I was flying and I told my brother, I told him, you should, I had no idea about digital marketing and I told him maybe you should try out digital marketing because these days it's more about niching down and building skills, right? So
Correct.
that's what I told him. And then when I left my job, I thought, why am I not doing the same thing if I'm giving other people the same advice? So I enrolled in this internship. It was Digital Deepak's internship at that time, and it was a remote
Hmm.
internship because of the pandemic. So when I started learning, I understood, okay, this is a huge world. There are so many
Right.
things that people are doing online, and then you can do it from anywhere. So this
Hmm.
doing work from anywhere was what fascinated me more. And I thought, okay, marketing is also extremely fascinating. You get to learn so much about consumer psychology, consumer behavior, and why people buy things and how do they buy it online, especially. So I think
Right.
that was Those were the kind of things that interested me over time.
Amazing, amazing. And in this, there's one more very, this topic is discussed very often on, especially on a platform like LinkedIn, that a lot of people are confused. A lot of people who are doing jobs, they want to come into
Yeah,
freelancing. A lot of people who are freelancing, they are having a lot of self doubts. They are struggling a lot. And I read in your article,
yeah,
you started in 2021, then you went into a
yeah,
job, and then again you have taken a
yeah.
step. So, if you reflect back on that first time you started freelancing, you started your own venture,
Mm-hmm.
what are the mistakes that you think you did, and which newbies on who are coming to LinkedIn should not be doing? Who want to build their own business.
Okay. I think when I started last year, it happened very naturally for me because people were reading my content and I started getting a lot of inbound leads. I did not
Hmm.
even have an idea, okay, a writer needs to, of course, they can start out as a generalist, but then eventually you need to pick a niche if you want to really grow in this
Right.
field. So I think I was reacting a lot when it happened the first time around.
Hmm.
And even though I did have a little bit idea, I was following the right people at that time as well. But for some reason there was a lot of self doubt, like I didn't know how to position myself in the right way, or if I had to pick one particular niche, I didn't know which one to go for, because there was
Hmm.
so much of information that I was consuming that I was constantly overwhelmed, right? And I was
Right.
focused more on consuming that information rather than putting it into application. I was doing that, like I was creating content on LinkedIn and I was working for clients, but at the same time I think I let that overwhelm and self doubt get to me. And eventually I
Hmm.
thought, oh my God, this is too much and I can't succeed in this. There are people better than me who are doing these things. I don't think that I am even required. So this was my internal,
Hmm.
dialogue at that time. In terms of
Hmm.
mistakes, I would say never judge yourself so early. Like I judged myself in just the span of 3 months, and
Hmm.
3 months is nothing. Like people do it for 2 years and 10 years. Even then, they face a lot of problems. I'm sure you would know. So
Sure.
I think I judged myself too early. So with anyone who wants to take this up, I don't think it's right. Whether you're going for a job or you're taking up freelancing, don't judge yourself so early on. And just yesterday, in fact, I was working on something on a project, and I again started thinking, oh my God, I don't like this project, and am
Right.
I doing the right thing or not? And I was like, okay, no, this is how I used to think the first time around as well. So I think
Right.
that was the biggest mistake. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is the whole motive of this session, because what people see is just the front view of things. They see the likes, they see the
Yeah.
comments, but these are the actual struggles that we face, and you got to deal with this and find out solutions in your own ways and come back to it. Because
Yeah.
even in content creation, you would agree that there are a lot of times when you feel like quitting content creation, or you feel overwhelmed by the
Mm.
kind of achievements that other people are getting, and you feel like you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
So a lot of these backstory things
Correct.
happen in the
Yeah. Yeah.
background.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In this, for all the content writers, now coming to content writing as a subject, you did a full time job. Do you think that had an
Mhm.
impact? How did it help you in your, like? What do you think of it?
I think it definitely helped me because when you are working in a place, especially the place where I was working, it was a startup, early stage startup, right? Nothing is
Hmm.
defined, like you don't have set processes and structures for the next 1 year or even 2 years. So, to deal with that kind of ambiguity, uh, was a great experience. And also, I think the learning curve is
Right.
shorter in startups, right?
Hmm.
So I was, of course, primarily focused in content, but I also was involved in hiring in the first month itself of my joining. I onboarded two writers. I was managing the entire content marketing process when I just completed my 3 months over there. So things happened very quickly because I learned things way too quickly. And it wasn't just like writing content, right? It's also the entire process, researching, ideating, then distribution, a lot of other things. So how it helped me right now is that I gained a lot of confidence in my job because I think a lot of my skills were also validated. So that validation
Hmm.
is very important for anyone. And once
Right.
you go out there and then there are people who are like, okay, yes, I need your skills and I think you're really good at your skills. So that gives you a lot of validation and confidence, which is great. And so yes, it definitely helps. I wouldn't say okay, jobs suck or anything, or don't go do a full, don't do a full time job. But at the same time, there are a lot of jobs that can be a waste of time for a lot of people. So there are two sides to the story always.
Absolutely. And I totally agree that you need to choose a job in the right way. You need to look at the scope of work and see if it suits your learning pattern and if
Yeah,
it suits your kind of growth that you want to achieve. And even I did a job and I learned a lot through that. You learn processes. I mean, there are hard skills, but the major benefit is you learn the soft skills that you can't learn by
yeah,
sitting at home or by just yourself, because the processes, the
true.
client interaction is teaches you a lot of things. So that's
Yes,
amazing. And all the like in content writing, I've seen your written content. It's amazing. First of all, the way you articulate your thoughts.
thanks.
uh, do you use any tools helped you, or any books or any webinars or any YouTube channels in
Uh-huh.
your journey?
So in terms of tools, I don't use any tool extensively, though I should be. And there are a list of tools, that I should be using. But there's Grammarly, of course, so
Hmm.
that there is a basic check. Sometimes even Grammarly can suggest um, like wrong things to you when you're
Hmm.
writing. Of course, that's a different thing. But at the same time, Grammarly is one thing. Apart from that, I just read my content out loud after I have written it down so that I know how it sounds, right? And it doesn't
Right.
sound as if it's an essay. It sounds as if some human has written it. Like it's in a very conversational tone. And apart from that, books, I'm currently reading On Writing by Stephen King. It's a highly recommended book for writers, for anyone who wants to write anywhere, whether that's for blog writing or for social media writing. So I think that book
Right.
is great. And I'm also subscribed to a lot of newsletters by people in content and in content marketing in general.
Hmm.
And I think one of the newsletters is by Tracy Wallace. I don't remember where she works currently, but she is a content lead in uh, in a tech company. And then there's this
Right.
person, Erica Schneider. She she writes a lot about content tips and editing tips. I think a lot of
Right.
paid courses don't include such content that she does. So yeah, these are the few people that I follow and tools.
Amazing. I've seen newsletters have a lot of, they add a lot of value, even personally. Like, I've been following Shreya Pata's newsletter and all of the
Oh yeah,
newsletters that, you just give it a read. And even if you don't have time, you just give it a skim through and it will add to your vocabulary, it will add to
correct,
your skill set. A lot of benefits of that.
correct, correct. Yeah.
Amazing. So now coming to the client part of things. So how are things going by, like, do you receive leads through LinkedIn inbound, or are you reaching out, or cold DM? So
Mhm.
what is your process of getting clients?
So far it's been inbound leads, and then I'm also a part of a few Slack communities. There's
Okay.
S11S for marketers, then there is Superpath for for people in content and marketing.
Hmm.
There's one Peak Freelance, which is for mostly freelance writers. So I am a part of these Slack communities. So when I did leave my job, I actually wrote an announcement of sorts where I mentioned, okay, I recently left my job and I am open to freelancing full time, and say a message like that on all of these groups. So because of that, I received a lot of messages from those Slack communities as well. But I haven't done
Hmm.
any cold outreach as of now, but I do plan to do it eventually because uh, based on the people that I follow, right? Whether that's
Right.
Shreya or even Komal, all
Hmm.
of them have suggested these things, and I think these are best practices. Instead of putting all your eggs in just one basket and expecting that, oh, I am going to get inbound leads forever. I think cold outreach is something you anyone can try, especially if you have a particular type of client that you want to work with. So you can directly reach out to them. So
Right.
yeah, that's how it's been so far.
Absolutely, that's great. And that's the power of LinkedIn. I mean, when you create active content, I think it's because of the content that you are creating that people see it and
Hmm.
they kind of reach out that, okay, can you do it for our brand as well? And
Correct,
I'm
correct.
sure people watching this right now or will be watching this, there will be a large chunk that is just looking at LinkedIn as a job portal, which is not. So please start creating content. I mean, I can tell it honestly that like all my leads are coming through LinkedIn. So I
Mm.
could create my own
Yeah,
business because of LinkedIn. So that's the power of
correct.
LinkedIn that it creates. So
That's true.
coming to LinkedIn as well, we have a few comments. Hi Ashraf, hi Abhinav, hey, people joining in. Shubham is saying can't hear you. Okay, so can't hear me or you can't hear Devashree? Please mention. We'll look into it. Amazing. So yeah, coming to the next question, which is about LinkedIn. So you have been creating content on LinkedIn. So for a newbie content writer who is just coming on day one, what would be your suggestions on should I mean there's a lot of talk about niching down, choosing a niche, um, making it a perfect post right at the start. So what's your general observations on that?
In terms of creating content on LinkedIn, like how should one
Yeah,
approach that? Okay.
absolutely, especially for a content writer who wants to create a
Oh,
brand for themselves, or even in general, if
okay.
you have observed some timings work, some strategies work, if you could share.
Okay, got it. I think like everyone can take a very structured approach, whether that's a content writer or a founder or a business owner in general. Firstly, I think people overthink too much. Like I remember when I had
Mm,
started writing on LinkedIn, I was very excited because I remember I would wake up and then at 11 a.m. I just knew, okay, I have to hit publish because at
right.
that time I was constantly just I had a lot of ideas to write about, and it was anything. If I whether it was I was reading a book or I had read a blog post or I just observed something on LinkedIn that a lot of people were talking about. So I was just writing my observations, right? I did
Right.
not overthink it at that time. But then there did come a point where I had stopped creating content altogether as well. But I can talk about
Mm,
that later. But I think one would be to not overthink. I know it's easier said than done. Just write about things that are right there in front of you and take inspiration from your own experience. So when I started writing, I was mostly writing about my journey, right? I
mm,
wasn't writing about writing as such. I was writing about how I transitioned and what do I want to do and how did I transition to content, things like that. So I think the best inspiration is your journey. Then another thing would be, of course, in LinkedIn, there is a certain way and a certain structure that people need to follow. Like a lot of people say, okay, you need to only write one line, like you just write one line and then break it and then one line. But I just feel
mm,
like that may or may not be the best way to go about it. A lot of people do it and they do get a lot of good engagement. But when you're just starting out, it's important to experiment. Like you can write 3 lines and then give a break, and then 3 lines and give a break. Maybe
right.
try the next week you can try one liner, something like that. And also experiment with different formats. Like for a lot of
Right.
people, I feel if it's better if you create a carousel at times and use a static image sometimes and then maybe a text post at times, right? So it's important to use different formats on LinkedIn as well. Don't just stick to one. Um, and don't pressurize yourself that, okay, I have to write from Monday to Saturday every single day. You can just start with
Mm,
3 posts in a week also, or let's say 2 posts in a week. So the idea is to just
right.
get started initially because that's the hardest step, right, to get started. So just to get started, do the thing that requires the least amount of resistance and go with that.
Absolutely. That's a great tip on experimenting with different structures, different formats. And I think that teaches you a lot of things because you kind of analyze, you kind of see, and then you kind of scale up
Yeah.
what's working for you and your audience. Uh, and there's also this talk that now, when it comes to content creation, honestly, I'd say we do get overwhelmed. I mean, you see a lot of content that's there on LinkedIn. I
Mm.
mean, I'm sure you spend a lot of time behind when it comes to creating your text posts and ideating those, but there's a lot of content on LinkedIn which is like one liners, motivational quotes, and they are getting thousands of likes. So does it get to your mind ki yaar, मतलब यार I'm putting in half an hour, 15 minutes for my post, and these one liners are
Mm-hmm.
getting 1,000 likes.
Actually, it doesn't, because I feel like those one-liners are for a very wide range of audience, right? And
Hmm.
people who are writing that kind of content are not on LinkedIn with the intention to provide any real value, or
Hmm.
so I feel like, okay, they are obviously not the kind of people that I want to follow, or the kind of people that I want to take inspiration from. Of course, the content is good. I'm not saying that. But at the same time, I think their goal is different. That they are just writing because, okay, they will get a lot of engagement and they are aware of it if they write
Right.
these one-liners. And there are a lot of creators who just have 2,000 or 3,000 followers, and their content is very targeted, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like, and they are making a lot of business because of that, right? Because they are reaching the right kind of people. So that is more important. And I think, and it's great. Like if your post goes viral, you will receive a lot of followers and you will receive a lot of impressions and traffic to your LinkedIn page, which is good for visibility, because out of all those people, I'm sure there will be one or two people who might want to work with you, or who might
Right.
want to do business with you.
Right.
But then in the larger scheme of things, the people who are just writing those one-liners, or they just put one motivational quote, I mean, you shouldn't even feel afraid of what they are doing, or feel like, oh my God, they are a
Hmm.
competition or anything, because their goal is completely different.
Right. Absolutely. That's a great answer. That targeted approach, focused approach on what your target audience is. And
Yeah,
I mean, it's all about getting the leads, even if you get it out of 20 likes. That's a job done for you.
exactly. Yeah.
So that's great. And now coming to, you also mentioned you left the content creation process at a point of time. So, what
Mm.
went in your mind at that moment of time, and how did you then decide that, okay, I need to get back to this game and I need to be consistent now?
So I think last year when I had left freelancing and I had joined another full-time job, that was the time when slowly I just because I think I depended so much on inspiration, right?
Hmm.
Like I told you, I would just wake up and I would get an idea and I would write. I depended so much on just natural inspiration that there was a point when I just stopped. I don't know, like I just stopped ideating, or I just stopped enjoying the process. I guess
Hmm.
maybe the newness of creating content on LinkedIn uh, just flew by, probably, or just ended. That's
Right.
why I think I stopped, and I just stopped enjoying it altogether. Uh, so that was one thing, and I would still post, but just sometimes. And then my content was also not very targeted, right?
Hmm.
So that is what happened. But how did I get back? I think very slowly and gradually. Like I didn't push myself. Earlier, I remember I would push myself a lot. Like I would schedule
Hmm.
a calendar reminder by writing, okay, write this LinkedIn post every
Right.
single day. So I stopped doing all of those things, and I, because I knew if I would post myself, I will obviously not write something that would come from a very good place. So I took my time, and then eventually, slowly and gradually, I started getting back to it.
Right. That's a great process, and it's very, very important. I mean, we can't stress enough on not pushing yourself, because that really deteriorates the quality of the content, and also you feel overwhelmed after a point of time, and it creates the risk of leaving the process entirely. And I think
Correct.
that's something that's a takeaway from this conversation. Now
Mm.
coming to the rapid fire round, it's the ending part of the session,
Oh,
wherein I'm going to give you certain choices. I don't have a gift hamper,
okay.
sadly, but very soon I'll be aiming aiming for that.
Okay.
But yeah, whatever, I'll give you some choices and some questions, whatever comes to your mind, and you could also tell the reasoning behind the same. You could choose to tell that as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
So my first question is, what would you choose? Money, power, or impact? You have to choose one.
Impact.
Impact, right? That's a smart
Yeah.
answer, because I mean, if you create impact, you'll get money, and you obviously have
Correct.
power after that.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. One thing you'd like to change about LinkedIn, that frustrates you a lot.
Um, I don't know, but there are a lot of ads on LinkedIn, and
Hmm.
like on Instagram, you can select not interested. But
Right.
it's not that easy to do it on LinkedIn, especially not on the first click. So there's a lot of friction and the process is a little longer. I do want to give this feedback to the product team of LinkedIn to introduce
Absolutely.
us where I can just click and write, select not interested in the ad.
Yeah, I see a lot of CRM ads on my feed all the time. So yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I can relate with that.
yes.
Uh,
Yeah, there was one
what?
weird ad I saw. Sorry, I interrupted,
No,
but
no, no. Yeah,
one weird ad for family planning on LinkedIn, and I thought this doesn't make sense on LinkedIn. But yeah.
absolutely. And don't click on that because I understand the pains behind that because they pay like 200
Oh,
rupees per click on that.
oh
So
my God.
it hurts a
Okay.
lot as an advertiser.
Yeah,
So I'm like
I
when I talk
understand.
with my friends, they are like, हाँ ad देखा click कर दिया हमने बोला यार shit मत करा करो
Oh.
ad पे नहीं खरीदना है तो.
Yeah.
Okay, my next question is 10 crores or you get a chance to correct all the mistakes in your past years. What would you
Oh
choose?
no, I will not correct my mistakes. 10 crore.
Very smart. My next question is 10 clients in different industries uh, or one big client in any industry.
Um, I think one big client.
Right, absolutely. And your reasoning, I'm curious to know like why not 10?
I think maybe in the beginning it's fine if I
Hmm.
have multiple clients in different industries because I'm figuring it out. But
Right,
eventually, I think it's better if I have one client and I can give them consistent results over a period of
right.
time.
Absolutely. And that's an important point that, when you work in the beginning, you collect some revenue, you save some revenue so that you can work with that one client. And it's kind of a
Exactly.
risk as well when you work with just one client because what if he or she
Yeah,
leaves? So you already have a
of course.
saving to for
Yeah,
that.
correct.
Amazing. My last question of this session is what's your vision with content creation or with content writing? Where do you see yourself what do you see yourself doing in the next 2 3 years with content creation and writing?
Um, Okay, good question. But I think with content creation, I do know what I don't want to do. So I think I'll start with that. I don't want to create very generic content. I
Hmm.
maybe I'm there or maybe I'm not there yet, but I see a lot of generic content, right? That's aimed to teach writers in general or freelance writers. But I feel that's not helpful. And because I'm the kind of person who goes around searching and I go down the rabbit hole so that I can find that specific content that solves my pain points in some ways. So I don't ever want to create generic content. I want the content to come from a place of uh, my experience, my lived experience, so that someone out there who's reading it can actually benefit from it and
Right.
not something that can be just Googled, right? Everything
Hmm.
can be Googled these days, but then what's the point? Why would I
Correct.
create content then? So that's definitely one of my aims, and I really do want my content to solve some kind of problem, whether that's related to content for any business or whether that's for some person. If I create some content that's personal, something that's related to my story. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Absolutely, that's a great approach, and we all are rooting for your content, rooting for your journey. And it was an amazing, amazing conversation. I'd say truly a charcha, candid conversation, and I think a lot of takeaways that I think a lot of newbies, especially when they get to know the backstory of creators, they get a lot of insights that okay, this we have to do, this we don't have to do, and this is how we can approach content creation, your growth journey in freelancing. So, yeah, thank you so much, Devashree, for your time, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
thank you so much, Rahul. It was great to be here and my first LinkedIn Live. It was very
Amazing.
exciting. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to the audience as well who joined or will be watching this. Any doubts on content creation, content writing, feel free to reach out to Devashree and we can solve your doubts. So until
Of
then,
course.
see you next time. Thank you.